Hey, it is another HFIL Reacts. I'm the man behind the scenes, Harvest MGS, and with me is our fearless leader of all time.
Yo, it's Grimmz. What up?
I'm just gonna keep calling you different things every time, I think.
Hell yeah.
All right, so we're back once again, and we're talking about movies this time. This is our first real movie subject. If you don't really want to count multiverses too much with me and Hiroham, and we're talking about a movie that just came out a week ago. Had some time to really sit in our stomachs for a bit, process it. Deadpool and Wolverine. We're going to try and avoid talking about spoilers for a portion. Might even throw a timestamp up when we put this up and even give you a spoiler warning when we do talk about spoilers because I know I want to talk about some spoilers. I assume you do too, right, Grims?
Oh, I only want to talk about spoilers.
Well, let's give them at least 5 minutes then. How about that?
Ugh. All right.
So, Deadpool and Wolverine, let's start from the beginning. How did you feel going into this movie? Not how you felt coming out.
I didn't really know what to expect. I was kind of excited, kind of not excited. I know the last two Deadpool movies were both movies that I don't think I was like hyped to go see, but I know when I left, I enjoyed what I saw, but I definitely wasn't like, oh man, I have to go see this.
I I think I had way too high expectations for the third one compared to the first and second. The first was just kind of cool because this movie wasn't supposed to happen until the fans were like, "Arr, Angry Cloud Man," and it happened. The
Mhm.
second one, I think, is the best of the three. I think third is quite good going in. Kind of knew or had a rough inkling about some of the spoilers and quote unquote guest appearances that Ryan Reynolds said in a recent interview, which I love that he said that versus cameos. And it was a good watch going in. I had popcorn in the theater and I laughed a lot, which hey, sometimes all you really need is just a laugh versus worrying about a serious moment.
And I would say that if you were to go to this movie expecting like a very deep story, you're not gonna find it here, but you'll definitely find a story that's fun, it's entertaining. I can say that I was thoroughly entertained throughout the entire movie, despite it being so long, but it was a good time. I had a really good time sitting through this movie and watching it.
It did feel like right before the third act that it was dragging a bit. Like it was just spinning its wheels for the sake to spin its wheels. And even like right after the first act too. So it had a really hard time transitioning parts of its stories. But when it had their climactic moments, whether it was reveals or fights or whatever, it was always awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I think there was I mean, there is a part in the movie towards the end where Deadpool breaks the fourth wall and says, "We're almost to the finish line, folks. Just gotta hold on a little bit tighter." And when he said that, I was like, "Oh, okay, good," because I felt like the movie was starting to take a little too long. I was like, "Oh, please tell me we're getting close to the end." And not that I wasn't having a good time, I just can't sit for 2 hours plus. It's hard. I get very distracted.
No, I agree. There's way too many movies in existence. I disagree on this one. I think this one was for the most part right amount of time. Probably could have cut 10 minutes, but there's some movies that are about 2 hours long that needed 45 minutes less. Like there's no reason some of these movies to be that long.
Yeah. This was probably one of those movies where it genuinely felt with how much was in it could have had a longer runtime. And I think it could have warranted it just because, like I said, there was a bunch of stuff going on in the movie. There was a bunch of storylines that could have been wrapped up at the end that we didn't get to see. Um, and it definitely could have ran longer. I'm glad it didn't, but it definitely could have. And
What's
it
a,
probably would still be considered a good movie, in my opinion.
what surprised me a lot after I was checking out some information about the movie was that it only as if it's a small amount cost them about $200 million to make this film. Considering everything that went into it and how expensive a lot of movies are nowadays, it kind of surprised me how cheap, quote unquote, the movie was compared to others.
Is the 200 million, does that factor in like actors' pay?
Yeah,
Oh. Well, how much did Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman get paid for this? And I wonder how much of a percent of that took up the budget.
I imagine for Ryan Reynolds, not much because he's one of the guys that finances this movie. After that, I couldn't tell you how much Hugh Jackman or Friends A, B, C, and D would have cost, whether it was an expensive amount or, yeah, you and I were in that movie once X amount of time ago. I'll gladly do this for $10.
Yeah.
But like just for comparison's sake, because I was curious how some of the other Marvel movies were. Iron Man, which came back in 2008, cost $140 million to make. That was in '08, 15, 16 years ago. So it is very shocking this movie made 200 million, cost 200 million, and had already made over $500 million back in the box office. Today, probably is going to go close to a billion when it's all said and done, I feel like.
200 million still sounds like a lot. I could
Uh,
use 200 million.
I'm like comparing it to the other movies we've been seeing, like Miss Marvel, for example, was more expensive than this movie. I think She-Hulk for the entire season, which I guess can't count that. That's like 8 hours compared to this. But there's been a lot of other shows and movies that are more expensive than 200 million that has not done anywhere near as well as this.
Bless you.
Thank you. So I think that's really a lot of the stuff. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we get into the spoiler territory of this all?
There are some movies out there where you'll want to spoil things for yourself, and I'm sure by now if you like Deadpool enough, you probably have seen it already. Unless you're like me, I'm very anxious. I went at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Monday because I didn't want to deal with a big crowd. But this is one of those movies that I think just avoid the spoilers. I genuinely felt like the guest appearances that were in this movie. Um, the emotion that it invoked was so like satisfying because I was not expecting this at all, and I was like, "Oh wow, you really dug this out of the grave and brought this into the movie? That's such a cool deep cut. That's awesome." Um, so it's like things like that where it's worth not spoiling it. That's all I can say.
I'd agree with that. So we're gonna head into a little bit of spoilers, and go ahead and shut this video off at this point if you don't want to hear any further conversations about that part. I'm gonna put my hand over this so it's easier for editing. Hello.
Oh
Um,
yeah, me too.
I mean, it's easy just like going real quick through everything. It's just like, oh, that's where something weird happened. I'll jump there and cut, cut, cut. Spoilers!
Spoilers.
You've just mentioned bury this up from the ground.
Dug it out of the grave. I don't think that was like a spoiler. It was like a deep cut.
No, no,
Right.
I don't know if that was a deep cut or a spoiler, but like I feel like that was a good reference to just the beginning of the movie, and the beginning of
Oh,
the movie
yeah.
made me laughing hysterically.
I would say like that opening sequence of like yeah, I loved the intro to this movie. It was obviously I think the best intro out of the three movies for sure.
Yeah, I know a lot of you are wondering how we're going to honor the Logan movie. Well, we're not. It just takes up his body right out of the grave,
Pulls his corpse right out.
right? So,
I thought that was I was wondering what they were gonna do with that because they were like leading up to us. Like, is he just gonna be? He's not gonna just be like because in the movie, Deadpool is sitting there with a shovel, like actually shoveling out the grave of Logan when he died in the movie Logan. And he's like, "Yeah, don't worry, I'm gonna get you, buddy." And I was like, "What's he been doing down there? Has he just been like buried underground?" I was like, "I hope they just leave me alone." Nope, he's just a skeleton
it was
with
a nice
some hair.
detail. I like that. And just like finger popping with him and everything. But like, yeah, that was a great intro into it, and just really put in the idea that it's like you knew where this movie was going to go, and you're very happy about it because it's not a movie to be serious. Hence that opening scene. Then we immediately afterwards had the Happy Hogan coming in there, and they do set an important part about this film, or at least that scene. That is the day right before Endgame, I think. So like right before the snap, where everyone died. So Deadpool asked to join the Avengers, and then the next day they fought Thanos and died.
Oh, okay. I must have, because I was kind of curious to where this all kind of lined up at timeline wise, because I was thinking back on it and I was like, huh. Because, I mean, obviously we're already in the spoilers, but the Logan that we have in this movie is not the Logan that died in the movie Logan. This is from a different universe. This is a whole new Logan. His universe sucks. Everyone died. Um, so this isn't the Logan that we know. And I was kind of curious, like when he did go back to like on Earth, the other Logan, because that's in the future, right? Like that's super in the future. Like when Logan died, that was 2038, I think. It was like 2030 something. And if this took place right after the snap or beforehand, then when he dug up, it's something there didn't make sense to me, and I'm not sure what information I'm missing to make that connection make sense. But
Time
yeah, I'm
travel's
not
a
really sure.
time travel's a bitch for one, and multiverse. So like all that stuff happened in MCU Prime or whatever that universe. Well, everything going on in this Deadpool Wolverine movie is going on in the X Men universe, which the X Men universe already doesn't make a lick of sense. And this all is going on way before Logan died in Logan, but at the same time, Logan and his daughter are now fully grown and alive in this movie. So it's nothing's making sense. Maybe that universe's Wolverine never interacts with this universe's Deadpool, hence why it's fine. But I don't know. I'm fine with it because it's stupid.
I was like, I didn't really care too much, but it was something that I thought about because it's like, wait, I thought Logan died in the future, and I don't know. But yeah, that was definitely a really cool intro.
Yeah, and I mentioned his daughter is in there. I was so they said they were not going to honor the movie, but yet they still did. There's a very great emotional scene by the bonfire with Wolverine and X-23 that just kind of really recaps everything we saw in Logan before in such a short conversation that made you go, okay, that made me feel a lot better about what they did with Logan now.
I'm unfortunately I didn't quite get that closure because it was kind of like I don't know. I didn't really feel like I got that same honor feeling that you had because I was like, this isn't even. I can imagine sort of how the Logan that we all know died, how that Logan felt because we got to see him interact with all these other characters and how he feels about everyone else in the movies. But this Logan is super drunk and sucks, and he feels really bad that all his friends died. Uh,
Yeah,
but I don't feel like that Logan. Like I can't emotionally feel bad for that Logan. He kind of is never nice in this entire movie. He does something kind of nice for Deadpool because what choice did he really have? But like this Logan's not that great. He's kind of a shithead. He's not a good guy. He's not a nice person in my opinion.
so you just I'm just gonna call Logan for Logan and Wolverine for this movie, just to make sure we don't get confused. But I
Well,
think you just described both Logan and Wolverine at the same time, because in Logan he's a drunk, all of his friends are dead, he's depressed, feels no desire to really continue on. In Wolverine, he's drunk, he's depressed, all of his friends are dead, sees no desire to continue on. And X-23 only gave him like a couple minute conversation to say, hey, at the end of the day, you're a good person, while Logan was an entire story arc of him going, actually, I am a good person.
I would say that the only difference is that we know for certain that Logan teamed up with these people before. He did work with these people before. He did have relationships with these people before. This Logan, all we know, and I think this is a huge miss for the movie. I think this is the one thing that I think is kind of like tragic is that we don't really get a whole. I wish we would have gotten some kind of backstory, some sort of scene or something with what had happened to Wolverine in his universe because I didn't feel anything for him. I didn't really feel bad for him. He
Mm-hmm.
lost the friends that he had, but I don't know if he even liked them. They might have just been like, it's kind of, I don't know. How
I
that Logan feels is kind of like how Deadpool treats the X Men in the first two movies, where he's just like, I don't really care about you guys, but whatever.
Yeah, I can see because they did explain everything for it, but like Hugh Jackman, amazing actor, all credit to him. He can't really. I felt like for me, maybe not, but you said not for you, but he cannot really perfect what he went through as well as showing what he went through. They could have done a lot more and maybe even brought in James Marsden's Cyclops and Halle Berry Storm or whatever for like a short thing, maybe to really show that story versus him just telling it and explaining it. We both have differing opinions on that one, but I can definitely see what you're saying about that. Like showing would have been much more powerful versus him just pouring his heart out like that.
Yeah. Like when we saw what happened to Professor X, like he was going through his dementia and stuff, like when we saw that on screen, that hit kind of hard. Seeing it hurt. So like, but like seeing some drunk guy next to the bonfire doesn't hit quite the same as seeing Professor X just being all old and old. But definitely, I did like the scene regardless. It didn't quite hit as hard for me, like I said, but I did think it was a good scene with him and Laura.
And Laura's not the only one that's in the movie that's a big surprise guest character. We'll start from the beginning. We mentioned already Happy Hogan. The next big surprise character we saw pop up, we'll start with Tyler Maine Sabretooth, not the Liev Schreiber Sabretooth. He's in here, has a fight with Wolverine. How'd you feel seeing him? How'd you feel about the fight? What are you saying?
Couple things. I would have really enjoyed seeing both Sabretooths, Liev Schreiber's Sabretooth, which I think was a better Sabretooth in a shittier movie. But I thought, like, as soon as I saw him on scene, as soon as I saw him in the trailers, I was like, oh man, this is so cool. I love Sabretooth. I think Sabretooth is really cool. But yeah, I was so pumped to finally get to see them fight for a couple seconds.
Yeah, he just kind of gets bitched out immediately. We see that with another guest character, not played by the original Vinnie Jones. I'm not sure who plays this version, and that's Juggernaut. Also, just gets bitched out immediately.
I forget. I think Laura like cuts his Achilles heel, and he like to the point where he just kind of falls forward. And I was like, "This is the Juggernaut, bitch! Like you don't just do that to him."
I was so upset they didn't drop that line anywhere in this movie. Like, come on, this is it.
I don't think that guy said anything. I think he just like around a bunch, but yeah,
He might have said like, "Oh, come here, little girl," or some like very basic, threatening lines. But like, come on, you give him I'm the Juggernaut. Even have Deadpool scream, "He's the Juggernaut, bitch!" Something.
something. Yeah, that would have been cool. But he doesn't do anything in this movie.
No,
He doesn't
he's
even have a. He kind of just. You know, at the end of Endgame, where there was a bunch of shit happening around each other, but all the superheroes were fighting other super bad guys, like Thanos's minions or whatever. It felt
yeah.
like that. Like we're not gonna get a whole lot of like cool. It's just kind of like it passes by and you move on. Like you don't get a whole lot of time with that fight scene. He just kind of gets bitched out.
Yeah, that fight scene, there's a few characters. Juggernaut gets bitched out by Laura. Uh, Devil character from Days of Future Past, he's in there, and I'm thinking, oh, he looked cool. I liked his look back in Days of Future Past. I think it was Days of Future Past. And he just gets annihilated immediately, too. It's just like they just had all of these characters to bring back just to be killed fast.
It kind of like it made sense to have a quick death for
The Devil.
I would say well what's his I don't even know Azazel oh I forget what his name is the
Yeah,
red guy. It, it would have made sense to give him a quick death because he didn't have a whole lot to say in his movie and he looks cool. He's very Nightcrawler-esque. But like the Juggernaut, he had a pivotal role in his movie. Have him say something.
yeah. I mean, same with the Russian. He was a very unimportant. He was unimportant in The Punisher. He didn't even have lines in there. I don't even know how he showed up in here.
I don't even know who that is. I've never seen The Punisher.
uh, it, it's okay. The John Travolta Punisher is the one he was, and he was played by Kevin Nash. And you know who else was played by Kevin Nash?
Hmm.
The Super
Who?
Shredder.
What?
So
Like he
super,
didn't make a cameo in this either?
right? Wasted opportunity, man.
We had Toad come back.
Yep.
Original actor too.
Yeah, he didn't have any lines, but they did have original actor Toad back. And they had, most importantly, as far as the villains go, as a return, is Pyro, and he had a pivotal role in this movie.
Yeah, he kind of died lame, but he definitely had a more important role in this movie. More of a role in this movie than I think he should have had. I don't remember too many people going back and thinking on the first X-Men movies like, man, I really wish Pyro would have had more screen time.
Yeah, I agree that Pyro was a very unimportant character back then. His big thing was like his switch from good to evil, but I don't know what other villain could you bring in? Jennifer Lawrence Mystique or something? I don't know.
Hmm.
Okay,
That's true.
yeah, I'm having a hard time thinking of anyone else here. They had all the Magnetos get killed off. They mentioned that pretty much in passing. So the only way to defeat the villain is the Juggernaut, because he's got the helmet that blocks psychic attacks.
Supposedly.
I mean, that's how it works.
Oh yeah, it does do that. I meant like I don't know. I was saying supposedly just because I was just sad that Juggernaut got destroyed so easily. They just took his helmet and like, yeah, you're a pushover. That's fine.
So we talked a little bit about the villains that came in. We got Juggernaut, we've got Azul, the Devil, uh, but we have some heroes that return. One of them, I had a feeling Chris Evans was going to be in this. I had a feeling he was going to be the Human Torch, but they even convinced me. They're like, "Oh shit, maybe he's actually Captain America." The way they brought him back in at the beginning.
There was a little bit of blue underneath his garbage bag that he was wearing. It
Yeah,
could have been his Captain America suit.
yeah, like some red like wraps around his sleeves and arms for some reason.
And it's like, all right, this is it. This is where he says, "Avengers, flame on."
Yeah, and he even gets annihilated by Pyro, which makes sense. One is fire, the other controls fire. So I did enjoy that, and just seeing the Chris Evans Human Torch coming in here. He's a character that's good friends with Ryan Reynolds. He was in Free Guy. I feel like they've done other films as well, but he's got no problem just stepping in for a quick line or two. And I imagine him, along with the other characters in this movie, just felt good putting back the old suit again.
Oh, for sure. Speaking of someone who hasn't been able to put on the suit in a very, very long time, I think my absolute favorite person to be in this movie that's a guest character is Blade.
100%. Motherfucker is still trying to ice skate uphill.
I loved that. I loved that so much.
Dude, Blade was the quintessential idea of cool back in the day, man. With his sunglasses, his whips, his outfit. Like, he was the Matrix before the Matrix, but made Matrix look sweet.
Right. The cool black leather trench coat. Dude, it was really cool to see him on screen. Like I felt like we also got Gambit. Gambit as
Ch-
Channing.
Channing
He
Tatum, yeah.
I'm glad he got to do the role that he wanted, but the dude's so buff. He's just like you're too buff to be Gambit. I'm sorry. I mean that in the nicest way possible, but
Yeah, he, I mean, I don't want to talk about Channing Tatum yet again, but I want to talk about the other guest character that actually had a legacy. That's the Jennifer Gardner Electra. She looks phenomenal as Jennifer Gard as Electra, considering she's 51, hasn't been Electra in years, and you wouldn't think that she hasn't done it in 20 years or whatever it's been. But it was so cool to see her there. She didn't care that Daredevil died, and I don't know if you had a big connection to the Electra movies or the Daredevil movies, but I liked Daredevil and I liked Electra in that movie.
oh yeah. I yeah, that was kind of funny that she said that's fine when he died.
Yeah, it's like, it's all right. But yeah, Channing Tatum in there as Gambit, and they even how they presented the character as far as like I don't even know what my life was before this. I just kind of randomly appeared. Like the way they just talked about him made you know that like, or if you did know, like yeah, his movies never existed, so he's really confused why he's here too.
I read an interview that for the longest time that Tatum was trying to get a Gambit movie off the ground, and they were working with Fox for the longest time to try and get that to work. But since the buyout, it pretty much just like never happened. And there was an interview that I read that like he was so appreciative that Ryan Reynolds reached out. It does sound like Ryan did do a lot of like I don't know, a lot of personal calls, and
Mm.
I think that's really cool. Obviously, this is something that he's very passionate about, and he saw that Tatum was also very passionate about it and gave him a chance to make that character have some kind of screen presence, and it was so cool to see.
And yeah, he definitely reached out. I know how he did with Blade as well. Blade, Wesley Snipes was doing everything he can to play Blade again, but they were like, "Nah, we're good. We're moving on. We want someone younger." And they've really been trying to get this Marisham Ali film off with him as the new Blade. So he just kind of gave up. And then a guy he hasn't talked to in 20 years sends him a text. Hey, can you talk? And he just straight up asked, like, Disney's cool with it. Marvel's cool with it. You want to come back as Blade? That was it. That was the conversation according to Snipes. And he was, like I said, highlighted the movie, best lines in the movie. I hope we do see him back in the future Marvel movies because he's so perfect as Blade.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and we also had the Hulk. He was a cameo, very small cameo, but he was there.
Yep, he was definitely there because they had a scene where Deadpool is trying to find the new Wolverine until we ended up with the current drunk loser worst Wolverine ever Wolverine. But we've got the Short King Wolverine, Weapon X, Patch, the version that fights the Hulk, and Henry Cavill Wolverine, the Calverine as people called him.
I I really liked. Did you watch the Mission Impossible movie that he did with what's that guy? He's
Tom
really
Cruise.
famous. Tom Cruise.
I never did see it. I'm not a big Mission Impossible fan, to be honest.
Well, there's a scene in that movie that he got famous for, like when he goes to fight, he loads up his fists. And that's something that people ask him to do at things all the time. It's like, hey, can you load up your fist like you did in the movie? And he'll do that. And right before he punches Deadpool out of his universe, he does the fist pump and the claws come out when he does it. And I thought that was really cool. Like, oh, he did the thing that people ask him to do
Oh,
while
that's
being Wolverine. That's cool.
I didn't honestly. I didn't even recognize him originally. I had to look up what was that Wolverine afterwards. But oh, that's so cool. They like brought in that fist pump thing 'cause I had no idea that was a big thing of his at all.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of funny, but it was really he is like huge like that. Like he looked super buff in that because he hasn't been Superman in a while, so I don't know if he's been exercising for other roles, but he looked
Yeah.
like jacked in this movie.
Have you really watched The Witcher at all?
I but the last time that he was The Witcher was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. So he, was Superman. Then he went to The Witcher. Then he left The Witcher thinking he was going to be Superman again in the DCEU. And then he left that because of all that stuff. Now he's working on a new Warhammer movie, I think it is. Like he's
Mhm.
consistently kept buff because he keeps on getting roles that demands him to be buff. So, and the guy's a massive nerd, which is cool.
No, that is definitely really cool.
Love seeing the pictures of him just being jacked wearing a tank top, fixing his computer, putting in a new video card or something.
I'm just like you other nerds, just really handsome and buff.
Just so yeah, just like us Southerners, no problem.
Yes, of course.
So yeah, we pretty much hit all the new cameos, all the guest characters that are in this film. I can't think of anyone we missed. What did you
Oh,
think of the?
I got one.
Oh yeah,
And this was something that I kind of wanted to have. I thought this was going to happen throughout the movie because it's a reoccurring joke throughout the entire movie. There is a scene where Deadpool gets to see Thor cry, and he's just constantly asking why was he crying, or like he'll wake up and he'll be like lightning bolts, or I don't know, he'll just make some random reference to Thor. And I thought at the end of the movie, again, since we're spoiler territories, uh, there was a scenario where someone would have had to sacrifice themselves to save the world. I thought Deadpool was going to be that person to do so, and for whatever reason, Thor was going to be so moved by this sacrifice that he was going to cry over the loss of Deadpool. But we never find out. But we did get to see we did get to see Thor in the movie.
I don't think that was Chris Evans like live though. It looked like it was the same scene from Thor: Dark World where Loki died for the second time or whatever, and they just decided like
Oh,
what he was down looking crying to was Deadpool with half his mask ripped off.
oh, I thought that was a whole. All right, so
He's
I've
done
never
that.
seen a Thor movie, so I didn't recognize the scene.
He's done that same scene twice. Once to Loki, and the other to Jane in Thor: Love and Thunder. My wife, she thought it was from Jane and Thor: Love and Thunder. I thought it was Thor: Dark World. Either way, both of us thought it was just a replay from a previous clip spliced together. But the other option is for the movie is that hey, maybe that's in Deadpool's future in Avengers Doomsday or Avengers Secret Wars or whatever,
Yeah, that would be cool.
right? So what'd you think of Cassandra Nova? What'd you think of her as a villain?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't get how her powers work. She can read people's minds, but she has to touch them, but she still has telekinesis otherwise, where she can just rip people's skins off and move objects with her mind.
I think she can move objects with her mind, but she can't read people's mind unless she touches them with her fingers.
And it sounds like she has pretty much bodied every single person that's walked into that universe, including Doctor Strange. Which was, I don't know, I think that might be overreaching what she's capable of, but if she is capable of doing all that, it seemed kind of strange that she needed whatever that plot device was at the end of the movie that they needed to take care of. Um, she pulled off the bald look really good.
Oh yeah, I really liked her look. She looked threatening yet childlike almost. Uh,
Yeah.
I could have. So they never really said straight up Doctor Strange, and I have to go back to watch some of the Strange movies because what she said was amateur magician. And I feel like I was trying to do a quick look, and I couldn't find anything quickly, so I'm not trying anymore. Um, but I feel like there was a character, whether it was in Doctor Strange, whether it was in What If, whether it was somewhere, where it's literally just an amateur magician that used the sling ring as one of his magic tricks to make some extra cash.
I,
Like I
yeah,
vaguely,
I mean,
I vaguely remember that, but I couldn't tell you where or when or how that was.
um, I'm trying to look it up too. It says Cassandra Nova mentions crossing paths with a amateur magician, and you can see the red edge of Doctor Strange's flying cloak on her desk. So I guess it's
Uh,
implied that it's him.
okay, so maybe that was the case then. I didn't see the cloak in the background.
Me
Um,
either. Which is another reason I want to go back and see it. I feel like there's a bunch of stuff in the background that I just didn't see.
the 20th Century Fox logo in the background while they're fighting.
Oh my god, yeah.
But I thought she was a great villain. Loved her. I loved some of the jokes she did where she's like about to interrogate Pyro, about to put his fingers inside of him. It's just like, geez, just freaking ask sometimes. Don't need to put your fingers inside me all the time.
I'll just tell you. She was definitely like way better than the last two villains from the movies. I do kind of wish we could have gotten what's his face back.
Ajax.
Thanos, the guy
Oh,
who plays
Cable. Cable.
Cable. Yeah, I kind of wish we could have gotten him back. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's kind of like a side tangent.
I mean, according to Deadpool himself, Cable just wasn't good for the demographic, and the fans didn't care for him. Which was weird that like they had that birthday party, and they had one of his random alien friends that died during X Force there. But again, he died, so why is he here? I feel like he just got he was the one that replaced Cable for that scene.
So we in that ending scene, there is a part where Deadpool asks, "What's that agency called?"
TVA.
AD, TVA. Like, hey, I had a bunch of friends back in the I forget what that place is called, the Nether. I don't know, the Void,
The Void, yeah.
somewhere. I have some friends back there that need help. That need help with their universes. Do you think you can help them? And she said, "Oh, we'll see." And in the ending, we do get to see Laura, who was one of the people who were stuck back in the void, with Blade and Gambit and friends.
Put some
We just
respect on Elektra's name. God damn.
and Elektra. I apologize. I don't know who else is back there still.
It was just
Some
those
people might
three.
have. Oh, can Blade be stabbed and live?
Yes. And he can
Okay.
regenerate too. So, like, I'm seeing that crew there, and I'm thinking, Electra or Gambit's going to die because they're the only ones that can't regenerate in this crew, right?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, how fragile is this team gonna be? I saw he got stabbed and was concerned, but apparently he'll be fine.
Yeah, if he ever has a weak ability to, regenerate, just like a vampire, as soon as he drinks a bit of blood, bam, he can regenerate faster. That's the thing with him. Because he is a vampire, Daywalker to be exact. But yeah, they are going to be brought back to their timeline, so it is possible we could see Elektra, Blade, Gambit in future MCU movies as those actors, or even other Fox entities. We could see the Halle Berry Storm. We could see, my opinion, yeah. Before I even ask any other characters, I already said Halle Berry Storm, so that could be my answer. Is there any character you wish you could have seen that was from the 20th Century Fox library?
Lee Schreiber's Sabretooth.
Okay.
Or Magneto.
Which Magneto? Fassbender or McKellen? They're both great, to be honest.
Any would be good, I
Any.
think.
Okay.
I think even a Professor X of either variant would have been okay.
I would have been okay without Professor X just because we just saw a variant of Professor X in the Multiverse of Madness movie. So seeing Stewart back, I'm not too crazy about. Been cool, but like I wouldn't have lost my crap like that. One, and I'm probably the only one that wants to see him back. We had Johnny Storm, so it doesn't make sense for him to be in there. The Thing, specifically
Mm.
the Shields version of the Thing, because I like that version of the Thing. I love that big rubbery costume. He looked cool in my opinion. Bite me.
Which thing?
The original Thing with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans.
Oh,
Not
okay.
Yeah, not the one with Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, that version's naked, and that's weird.
I don't know what that Ben. I don't know what that guy's name is. The guy who plays the thing.
He's just the guy from the Shield with me. That's all, man.
Oh, okay, I thought he was the guy. Whenever I think of him, I think of the guy from Breaking Bad. I don't think
Hank.
that's him. Yeah,
He,
Hank.
he looks a lot like him because they both just look like cops, generic looking cops.
Yeah, they both got that generic cop look.
Mhm.
Just need Carl Winslow in there.
So this was the ending, the bookend for the 20th Century Fox movies. Beautiful music video at the end with Green Day. It put a smile on my face altogether. So looking back at all the 20th Century Fox movies, two questions, same thing in the end. What's your favorite and your least favorite 20th Century Fox Marvel movie?
That's a good question, and I would like to know what the audience's opinion is on that too. So you guys should definitely drop that in the comment section below, and we can have a discussion about that.
Oh, 100%, man.
But I don't know, least favorite. Well, just Fox.
Just the Fox ones. So none of the Sony Spider-Mans, Craven the Hunter, none of the MCU Disney movies. This is only the Fox entities.
That's tough. I would say my favorite one might still be X2.
X2 is really good.
I don't know about least favorite.
There's a lot of stinkers.
There's a lot of bad ones.
I feel like the worst one's easier for me. Um, yeah, I just had it. As soon as I said worst one's easier for me, it just the Fantastic Four remake with Michael B. Jordan. That's the worst of the 20th Century Fox Marvel movies. And it just doesn't even fit. I feel like compared to the others, I don't know. It just has no magic to me.
I don't say any sequels are pretty bad. That one with the X-Men movie with the Phoenix wasn't that great.
Oh no, I think that is considered the lowest rated movie of them all. With that gal from Game of Thrones as the Phoenix.
Yeah. If that counts as, if that's under the library umbrella, then I'd probably say that's probably my least favorite. I haven't seen that remake of Fantastic Four. It didn't look like it was gonna be that great.
I'm a Fantastic Four fan to an extent. Three of those characters I think are really cool. So I wanted to see it. I did enjoy it. Plus, Doctor Doom is just a really cool villain. So um, he just has the worst name possible. But my favorite, not counting Logan, because that's the easy answer in my opinion. I would actually say the Wolverine might be one of my favorite one.
Really?
Yeah.
I was not the biggest fan of the Wolverine. Definitely better than Wolverine Origins.
Oh, easily.
Oh man.
I just think that out of all of them, that probably had the best fight scenes and the actual connection between the Silver Samurai and uh, Wolverine back when like World War II and everything happened. Really nice tie-in, and then the ending scene with "You're gonna die holding your heart in your hands," which was such a great line building up into Logan. I mean, I don't know if that's what they were hinting at, but it was a good way to go.
Right. Good foreshadowing. If it was on purpose, that's great foreshadowing. Good
Mm.
foreshadowing by accident, otherwise.
Good action, good action.
Nice accident.
All right. So what is the? I think this is the last thing I have to ask, really. Unless you got something you want to bring up, what is the next thing you want to see, if anything, in the MCU, or is it just it's a done entity? You don't care.
I only care if there's if there's crossovers at this point. I I think that's the only way you're gonna get me interested at this point because I felt like the everything leading up to Thanos. Although at the beginning, it obviously I don't think it was meant to lead up to Thanos. I kind of just like, okay, this one was a success. Let's try another one. Okay, was also a success. And as things went on, I felt like they were able to make it into this huge thing. It turned into Thanos. And if you think about it, it just took so long to get to that point. But now we know what the format is. We know what the formula is. So we know there's a phase two, a phase three, a phase four. How many years are going to go into each phase? Am I going to be 50 when phase three comes out? Is Ian McKellen going to even be alive anymore when phase three comes out? That's fucked up. But I don't know. I just want more crossover stuff.
I could see that. I mean, there's been talks that, of course, the Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman Wolverine and Deadpool are going to be coming back. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is supposedly going to be coming back too. Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Doctor Doom in an upcoming Avengers movie now, I guess, which is clearly break glass in case of emergency feeling right there. Um, but like there is some good stuff in the MCU, but they really need to try and restart up their base. They've got Captain America coming out with Red Hulk soon. You've got the Loki series, which I guess they got a season three, but Loki's been fantastic. And most importantly, where before it was like five, six products a year, they're doing one, maybe two movies a year. That's a lot more manageable. I can't watch everything at once. I was trying to, and it's just like this is too much. So keeping it a lot less is going to be a lot more in the end.
I think so too. I think since Thanos, there's just been an influx of way more movies. And I could be wrong. Maybe they're coming out at the same pace that they've always been coming out,
No,
but
you're
it
right.
feels like they're pumping out more content to watch. Not necessarily great content, but more content. And as I said earlier, I hate sitting through long movies, and I feel like Marvel movies are just long movies. So I know I liked the Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I really loved that. I love Doctor Strange, Universe of Madness. Didn't watch the other Doctor Strange movies because I don't care for Doctor Strange that much. But that movie was really cool,
Yeah, I
and I don't know if I would have liked it. It didn't even feel like wait, that was a Spider-Man movie, right? Yeah, never mind. I was gonna say that didn't feel like a Doctor Strange movie. He was barely in it, but yeah, he wasn't.
that was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Um, Now, Multiverse of Madness was good, but like I guess Doctor Strange has his third movie coming out eventually, but like most of the stories are wrapped up. I like Miss Marvel and Rambo, but like I don't care to see Captain Marvel again. Guardians are all finished up. They could do a fourth. They left it open for a fourth, but I'm good on that. So maybe Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi was good, but mostly I'm good. I'm just gonna wait for Doomsday now.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything else that I'm really looking forward to. Other big bad guys. I mean, we got Galactus out there, but I don't know. I know I'm burnt out on the Marvel stuff, but when cool stuff like this comes out, where I'm like, oh, this is kind of like a one-off thing, a niche thing, like what was it, the Eternals?
Oh god, that was terrible.
Like I just I would never be excited about that. But Deadpool 3, with the chance of a bunch of characters coming back, definitely sounds way more exciting to me than a bunch of people that. And the MCU is huge. The universe is huge. I can only care about so many characters, personally. Uh, Shout out to those who love all the characters equally and want to see a feature-length film for each one.
I
I
know, man.
personally don't.
I can't wait to see Captain Britain.
I want to see I do want to see like I think I want to see a Magneto movie.
I could accept a Magneto movie. I was just cracking jokes about we've got so many minor who cares characters like popping and trying to be made in big deals, but at the same time, nobody knew who the hell Iron Man was before Iron Man 1, you know? So,
I definitely didn't know about him as like I've heard of him. Like yeah, I've heard of that character, but I didn't really get like a good amount of like exposure until that movie.
yeah, I'm the exact same way. But all right, I think that's everything I really wanted to talk about regarding Marvel, MCU, Fox, everything. Anything else you wanted to bring up, whether future or past? What's your social security number?
Um, I just wanted to add one last thing that I thought was really cool. The
Yeah,
Deadpool movies seem to do a very great job at taking a song and combining it to like an epic climax for a movie. Like this last one was a Madonna song. Not a song that you would think you would hear like to like a climactic fight scene between good and bad, but somehow they made it work. Um, the Sun Will Come Out, whatever the name of that song is, was being played
tomorrow.
at the end of the yeah, was being played at the end of the second movie, and I was like, how are they gonna make this seem epic and cool? And they fucking did. They made it really cool. And what was the first movie?
I know
Take on
this.
Me. Take
I
on
think
Me.
that's it. Yeah.
And they turned that into like they combined that with the ending of that movie and turned it into like this epic climax. And I think that's really cool that they do that with James Gunn is also really good at taking old songs and combining it into I wish more movies would stop doing this because when it's done well it's really cool, and when other people do it it feels like they're just kind of copying them. But Deadpool series really good at doing that.
Now they absolutely, especially with this last movie. You already mentioned Madonna. That big intro with "Bye Bye Bye" and the opening fight scene with the TVA, and later on in the minivan, while they had "You're the One That I Want" by Grease playing through. Like it fit so well, and I don't know how it did.
It shouldn't, but it does, and I really enjoy that it does. Great movie. Overall, worth seeing.
100% worth seeing. If you want a good time laughing, see it. See it in theaters. See it in theaters twice. Because the first time, just enjoy it. The second time, so much stuff you need to see in the background that's worth seeing.
Hmm.
All right, and that is it for us. Once again, I am Harvest MGS,
And I'm Grimmz.
and we'll see you next time on a HFIL Reacts.
Goodbye.